You have found what lights you up. I'm your host, Sunny the Life Coach, and I'm here because I see you searching for something or someone out there to help you feel better. Something to take away the pain that you're feeling, the inadequacies. I know all of the things that happen in life can leave you feeling empty. Your search is over. This podcast is all about finding your own freedom and power to love yourself enough to shine in the ways you were always meant to, the ways in which you are already fully capable of. If you're ready for some real talk, some serious truth bombs, and a few F-bombs, you are in the right place. Let's do this. Let's get lit. Hey there and welcome. I appreciate you pressing play today. Thank you so very much. It is an honor. What I want to address with you today is something very important, near and dear to my heart, and that is that I am not the same person I used to be. Nor are you, nor are any of us. And some of you listening might be thinking, well, duh, of course not. And others may be thinking, what are you talking about? I haven't changed other than general aging. Sure, I look different, but I'm still the same person. No, you are not. Hell, you aren't even the same person that you were yesterday. Yesterday, you may have had some unexpected crisis arise, or maybe multiple crises, and you had to scramble for resolution, and maybe you did some things you wouldn't normally do. You're not the same person today that you were yesterday. Today, you are cool, calm, and collected because there are no fires to put out. And we'll get to that notion in a little bit. The notion that as long as everything is working in our favor, the stars are in alignment, then we are cool, calm, and collected. Then we can experience a state of bliss, if only momentarily. Whew. Not the case at all, but I'll come back to that. Let's go further back, though, shall we? Because sometimes it's much easier to see that you're not the same person that you were when you were a child, and not even a very young child, perhaps a teenager. Is it easier to see that you're not the same person today than you were then? Is it really? Because I sure do see a lot of you still talking about those good old high school days, remembering that amazing football game that was the pinnacle of your career, and I do mean for life. Seriously, middle-aged dudes still talk about their high school glory days, and women do too, I'm sure. I just see it more from men and that one football game, but I know that we all do it. And to be fair, there's nothing wrong with reminiscing. I think it's a wonderful thing that we get to hang on to our memories of the greatest moments of our lives. That's why dementia is such a horrific experience for everyone involved. So, no, I'm not suggesting that it's not a wonderful thing to recall a time in your life that you felt absolutely elated to be alive. In fact, I wholeheartedly support that. Just remind yourself that you're not that person anymore. Like, I had a completely different view of politics and religion when I was 18 than I do now. Totally opposite of what I believed back then. I'm not the same. And we do have our thoughts, form our beliefs, and make decisions accordingly when we are young. Then we evolve. We transition into a different version of ourselves. Here's something that struck me personally earlier this week. I was working my part-time job at the florist. It's something I do that's typically just 2 days a week, but it gets me out in public and I get to be around the energy of other people. I didn't realize how much I needed that until I signed up for it. Now, what you may or may not realize is that I grew up with parents that owned dual businesses, both a greenhouse and a florist. Both retail businesses. The greenhouse business was actually on the same property as our home. We would literally walk out of the house and the entrance to the business was about 20 yards away. This was pretty much out in the sticks. It was in the country, But it did very well, the greenhouse business, because we didn't have a Lowe's or a Home Depot or even a Walmart garden center within an hour's drive. It really did serve all of the locals for their plant needs, everything from garden vegetables to annuals to houseplants to trees and shrubs. It was a lot of work, if you can imagine, and I was really the only kid old enough to play cashier, customer service. I was 10. The florist was in town, about 30 minutes away, and I use the term town loosely, tiny little place with 3 stoplights, but again, not a lot of competition. I think that town has only ever been able to support 2 florists at once. Anyway, when I got to high school, I used to just take the bus into town and stop at the flower shop after school, do a little work for a couple of hours, and then ride home with Dad. All of this to say, as a child, I developed a real disdain for plants and flowers. I was over it. I wanted no part of it. I didn't want to tend them, to water them, prep them, arrange them, or deliver them. I didn't even want to freaking see them ever again. And so when both businesses eventually closed, I felt free to be a complete asshole about all plants and flowers for the rest of my life. Of course, that's not what happened. But I did swear that I would never do these things again. I would not dig around in the dirt. I would not work in a blazing hot greenhouse in the summertime. I would not bleed from the prick of a rose's thorn or a metal pick. Whew, I still have a scar on my right index finger from dragging it across one of those sharp metal picks by accident one day when I was around 13 or 14. Those things were treacherous. And I kept my word on that plan to stay away from it for decades, actually, from the time I was around 18 till a couple of months ago. Now I find myself in this local florist a couple of days a week, and it just feels like coming home. It lights me up. Who would have ever guessed? Certainly not me. I had established my intention way back when, and then I personified that with my very identity. I embodied that intention. I made it a reality. I became a person who wanted nothing to do with plants or flowers until I didn't anymore, until I realized that that version of me no longer exists. And I learned this through connecting with my sacral, my gut, my inner instinct. When I was having lunch with friends, one of them mentioned how much she loves delivering flowers for the local florist because she gets to see other people light up when they receive them. And in the moment that she said that, I got this little flutter in my gut, and without even thinking about it at all, the next words out of my mouth were, "Damn, I missed that." I seriously shocked myself, and the rest is history. So the other day, I was tending to the plants on the showroom floor, and it just hit me that I wasn't the same person who said she would never do that again. I had not only evolved, I have, in some aspects, returned to my youth, the parts of it that I used to think were so bad, and they really aren't. Like my mentor said on an earlier call today, we receive in the way that we perceive. All of us do this. We receive and translate the information through our own filters, through our own lens, taking into account our own experiences. For me, I had created a version of reality that made working around plants to be negative. I did that. I did. No one else did that. It was just me. My filters, my lens, my experiences led me to the identity of being a person who wanted nothing to do with that. What changed? Well, as you know, if you are a returning listener, I started reconnecting with my body and a greater sense of self. I started coming to the realization that I am more than my mind and my thoughts, and honestly, even my experiences. Even the negative ones, those don't define me. I do that. That's where my power lies. No one gets to tell you who to be anymore. I am so far past that shit, it's not even a consideration. I get to show up everywhere in life as exactly who I am without apology. I can't even express how amazing that feels. I encourage all of you to give it a try, and if you need a little support in getting there, I am happy to jump on a call with you. Just message me or click the link in show notes to get on my schedule. Now, this may have seemed like a softball, so let me throw something a little harder your way, because I know very well that these things happen too. I know intimately well. And what happens when you have done something or said something that others perceive as being wrong or even immoral or borderline illegal? Like maybe you went to an after work event and had a few drinks and then drove home, and you made it there without incident, but you certainly took a risk. Now your coworkers are judging you, your family is judging you, and no one misses an opportunity to remind you that you messed up that time. They will tell you all about it whenever they get a chance. Remember that time that you drove yourself home when you shouldn't have? You could have killed someone. Yeah, let's add in a layer of shame for good measure. It isn't necessarily an inaccurate statement to say you could have killed someone, not at all. However, when things like this happen in our lives, it is important that we ask ourselves what the value is in exploring what could have happened. I get that in this scenario it would be to possibly try to scare the other person straight. But what if the person is already holding on to a high level of self-awareness and already feeling guilt, shame, and remorse? It isn't our job to be the morality police and continue to hammer people over the head with all of their mistakes from now until the end of time. That certainly doesn't stop us from trying. We're going to let you know you fucked up, just in case you aren't already aware. In the first example, there were decades between changing an identity that was established when I was very young. That's why I referred to it as a softball. Yeah, it's a bit easier to see how that transformation could happen. This one is a little trickier, though, because the person who made the mistake is seeking forgiveness, but instead is receiving more doses of guilt and shame from those around them. And when you're in the position of being the one seeking forgiveness, or even a shred of understanding or compassion, you'll probably be left wondering how much time needs to pass before everyone moves on and stops poking at your pain. Trust me, I know this position very well. My answer is, that's up to you. Unfortunately, I didn't know that part when I was faced with it, so I did what most of us do, and I either lashed out or I begged for forgiveness, depending on who my audience was. With family, for sure, they will come at you hard with the judgment because they know you best and they've known you the longest, and they have their expectations for how your life is going to unfold. That's just how it is. This can be your parents, siblings, spouse, and even extended family. Being judged by your family often feels the harshest because the most primitive parts of us just want to survive. And having your people have your back equates to survival when it comes to that instinctual part of us. We might die if we are disowned by the tribe. This is the tribe I was born to, therefore I need to keep them close for my own safety. Well, that may have been true in more primitive times, but it isn't as much of a concern in these times. You do know that you can survive without a particular relationship, right? Of course you do. Intellectually, you know this. Instinctively, not so much. The instinct still exists because we were not only born this way, but it becomes continually reinforced. Family first. Nothing is more important than family, drilled into our brains over and over again. When in reality, many of us know people who have become estranged from family members, and they're living their lives just fine. Sure, there may be some inner turmoil, but they aren't dying. They aren't in danger. They're safe. They're surviving. I have come to the realization through my own experiences that the time needed for the judgments of others to no longer impact you is in fact up to you. Because when we do things like lash out or get defensive or beg for forgiveness, we are turning over our power to the other person. We are relying on their acceptance of us to be a condition of our own self-worth. Nah, don't do it. It will not work in your favor. This is attempting to control the thoughts and feelings of others, and that just never works. It doesn't. The time frame is up to you, because you can decide to forgive yourself and take back your power. You can control your response to their accusations. For example, instead of throwing up your defenses or being angry when someone brings up what you did wrong last week or last month, you could just agree. Yes, I see what I did was wrong, and I'm taking steps to correct myself. Thank you for your concern. It's really a great way to claim your power when you can stay steady and not get fired up about what other people are thinking about you. If you just allow them to think whatever they want to about you, because they're going to anyway, then it won't cut so deep when they hurl their opinions your way. Release the need to control the outcome, where in this example, the outcome is convincing others to accept you and maybe even someday embrace you again. Let go of your need for that approval. Just accept where they are and move on. Be unbothered. Why? Because you know that you are worthy just as you are. You know you will make mistakes in life and you will learn from them. That's what we are all here for. I know that when you really screw up, you just want to move past it and you want everyone else to do the same. But really, you being able to forgive yourself and to be compassionate with yourself and taking the opportunity to build a deeper relationship with yourself is going to be noticeable to those in your sphere. How you carry yourself and how you behave is going to go much further than any words you can say. You will not be the same person you used to be, and that may mean last week. And others will see that. It will be obvious. Now, please do not come at me for advocating drinking and driving. That is not what I'm doing at all. But I wanted to use an example that could be very relatable. In this scenario, everyone was doing it. All of the coworkers met for happy hour. It's just that one of them was getting called out for it. Maybe one of them got a little more tipsy, and that's why. The point is, everyone is following the herd and forming the same opinion, and no one is actually supporting the person who is getting called out. And that can feel very isolating. And I wanted to use something that really does happen in our world. This happens every day. Friends and coworkers meet for happy hour, and sometimes they drive when they shouldn't. And they still make it home without incident. I'm not saying that it's right, just saying it happens. Before I call on Rumi this week, I want to share another quote with you that I believe fits with this topic very well. I don't have attribution for it because it came to me in the form of an image and the source is degraded. It's not legible. But here are the words that I think would be great to keep close by when you are going through some things with family, friends, or even coworkers. We spend a good chunk of our time working, so that environment can sometimes morph into a sort of family atmosphere. So here is the quote. Let them judge you. Let them misunderstand you. Let them gossip about you. Their opinions aren't your problem. You stay kind, committed to love, and free in your authenticity. No matter what they do or say, don't you dare doubt your worth or the beauty of your truth. Just keep on shining like you do. I mean, I love this one so much. That last line especially. Shoo, I felt that one. Now, for Rumi. You suppose you are the trouble, but you are the cure. You suppose that you are the lock on the door, but you are the key that opens it. Listen, we humans are constantly evolving, not just in our appearance, that's a given, but also in all of the ways that we can't necessarily see, the ways that we think and the ways that we allow ourselves to truly feel our feelings deeply, the ways that we see the world around us, what our perceptions are, our ability to shift and change and transform into a new and improved version of ourselves. We don't always need to draw on our past experiences to predict our future experiences. The sky's the limit. You can do anything your heart desires, and you can be whomever you want to be. And when others see that in you and they say, wow, you've changed, and you can say, hey, thanks for noticing. It was an inside job. It's always an inside job. Don't hesitate to reach out if you'd like to have a conversation about your own path of evolution. You've got this. Light up. Shine on.